Game of Thrones has inspired more fan theories than perhaps any other media franchise to date. There are countless discussion threads, articles, and videos arguing for and against scores of theories with various levels of importance. However, after the climactic Battle of Winterfell, it's safe to say that one of the biggest fan theories in the series is finally confirmed. We can now say without a shadow of a doubt that Bran Stark is the fabled Lord of Light. That's right, on top of being the rightful Lord of Winterfell, the Three-Eyed Raven, and basically Professor Xavier, Bran is the god R'hllor, otherwise known as the Lord of Light. This video will prove that Bran is the Lord of Light so thoroughly that there won't even be a shadow of a doubt left in your mind. If it wasn't clear already, spoilers are inbound as we go behind the screen on one of the biggest Game of Thrones theories. Bran being the Lord of Light is a massive fan theory and has been a conversation in the Game of Thrones fandom since the show's earliest seasons. This theory also has some pretty wide-reaching consequences, as both the Lord of Light and the Three-Eyed Raven are at the center of some of the series' biggest plotlines. Although the theory has fallen in and out of fashion for years following the third episode of Season 8 titled The Long Night, it is now all but confirmed that Bran is the Lord of Light. Between the climactic battles in this episode that were admittedly pretty hard to see in the limited lighting, a firm dichotomy was set between the Night King and Bran as the Three-Eyed Raven. These kinds of opposing relationships are pretty common in Game of Thrones. The fiery Valyrian dragons have their icy equivalent, the Lannisters and the Starks are mortal enemies, and the members of the Targaryen house are either mad and destructive or somber and self-sacrificing. It's clear that most running elements in the show are presented as sets of two and are usually at odds with each other. The Night King seeks to destroy all of humanity, while the Three-Eyed Raven preserves it and is a living memory of mankind's actions. But what if each character embodies more than what we've been led to believe so far? It's pretty clear now that the Three-Eyed Raven represents the fire god, and that the Lord of Light and the Night King is his eternal rival, the ice deity. Okay, that's a pretty bold claim, even for a show that just had a preteen girl slay a zombie giant, so let's break it down a little bit further. The religion of the Lord of Light believes that the deity is forever combating a rival god known as the ice deity. While the Lord of Light is good, the ice deity is purely evil. The two are locked away in an eternal battle with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. Already we're seeing some parallels between the Three-Eyed Raven and the Night King, but the Battle of Winterfell makes the comparison even stronger. Although the Night King and his White Walkers have always had an affinity for cold and icy settings, this episode showed off his ability to wield those elements. The Night King summons a blizzard to weaken the human army and prevent them from attacking with their dragons. Furthermore, this episode makes it even more apparent that the Night King uses magical ice weapons in battle. His short ice sword is the focus of numerous shots, and he nearly eliminates another of Dany's dragons with an ice spear. If his icy blue skin wasn't enough of a tip-off already, this episode made it clear that the Night King is an incarnation of, or the literal ice deity. Bran, or the Three-Eyed Raven's connection to fire, is a bit more tenuous though, but still present. In interviews, George R.R. Martin, the writer of the books that Game of Thrones is based on, establishes the existence of fire wights. As regular wights are the zombies created by the Night King, fire wights are the reanimated bodies created by the Lord of Light and his servants. This includes characters like Beric Dondarrion and Jon Snow. In the Battle of Winterfell, both of these characters are working to protect Bran from the Night King's advance, and could be described as his defenders or servants. Of course, since the Lord of Light isn't evil, Jon and Beric get to keep their personality and autonomy and all that good stuff when they're revived. The Night King and Bran fit perfectly into the dichotomy outlined by the religion of the Lord of Light. Independently of their relationship though, there are plenty of hints throughout Game of Thrones that establishes Bran as the Lord of Light. One of the biggest connections between Bran and the Lord of Light is the two share similar powers and abilities.
I've been watching you. All of you.
Called green sight by the more mystically inclined people of Westeros, Bran's ability to see future and past events around the world is integral to his duties as the Three-Eyed Raven. He uses his powers not only to keep a record of humanity's many achievements and plunders, but also to ensure the safety and survival of as many people as he is able to. Similarly, followers of the Lord of Light, or merely those open to considering the deity, are able to see visions in fire.
Logs burning.
These visions guide the actions of Melisandre, also known as the Red Woman for the majority of the series, and inspired the Hound to travel north beyond the Wall. It's entirely possible that as the Lord of Light, Bran is sharing his green sight abilities with specific people looking into flames. We know that Bran can directly enter the minds of people and animals with his warg powers, so it's not much of a stretch to think that he could also share images of future and distant events. Maybe in a future episode, a character will have a vision that explains why Bran possessed a bunch of birds for seemingly no reason during the battle against the Night King, but that's probably not very likely. Another power that Bran, as the Three-Eyed Raven, shares with the Lord of Light is an incredible longevity. The original Three-Eyed Raven lived for what's implied to be several thousand years. Granted, he was stuck in a tree for most of that time, but he could still follow mankind's progress with the paranormal abilities. Melisandre is also much older than what she seems to be. Thanks to her enchanted necklace, she's endowed with a seemingly endless youth and vitality when in reality she's an incredibly old and decrepit woman. It seems totally believable that Bran or the original Three-Eyed Raven were sharing a portion of their extended life with Melisandre so that she could unintentionally help them in their fight against the Night King. On that note, the extended plotting of Bran and the original Three-Eyed Raven is the biggest piece of evidence in support of the memory of mankind being the Lord of Light. Although some characters are skeptical, others firmly believe that the Lord of Light is a protective deity that is dedicated to protecting humanity from forces of evil. Followers of the Lord of Light believe that the deity has some grand and incomprehensible plan to create a future where mankind not only survives, but thrives. The Three-Eyed Raven has been doing exactly that, creating a complex series of events to defeat the Night King since the first season of Game of Thrones. The Valyrian steel dagger that destroyed the Night King first appeared in the series during an attempt on Bran's life when he was in a coma after Jaime pushed him out of a tower. Bran, perhaps as the Three-Eyed Raven, warged into the direwolf summer to thwart the attack. The assassination attempt was enough to spark the War of the Five Kings though, which took up most of the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. This war also kicked off a lot of character arcs in the series.
Seven hells, what am I to make of this?
The Hound and Arya started traveling together and become stronger both emotionally and physically, Jaime and Brienne found redemption and friendship in each other, and Sir Davos started figuring out what kind of people he should really put his trust in. Basically, all of the characters that played a major role in defeating the Army of the Dead started moving towards that moment because of the dagger that nearly ended Bran's life. Further proving that he was pulling the strings as the Lord of Light all along, those close to the religion of the Lord of Light played an even more pivotal role in defeating the Night King and saving humanity. The Red Priestess Melisandre heavily influenced the outcome of the battle in the Long Night. Not only did she ignite the trench and inspire Arya to slay the Night King, she also played a role in developing humanity's last stand against the zombie army. She was the one to resurrect Jon Snow when he was betrayed by members of the Night's Watch. He would go on to orchestrate the campaign against the Army of the Dead and develop a plan to defeat the Night King. Without Melisandre following the guidance of the Lord of Light, the Battle of Winterfell would have never happened and the zombie army would march unopposed. Both the Hound and Beric Dondarrion, two people heavily influenced by the Lord of Light religion, played a significant role in Arya surviving the battle long enough to slay the Night King too. Beric was a servant of the Lord of Light who was brought back to life 6 different times for the purpose of defending Arya from the Army of Whites. Similarly, the Hound only traveled north in the first place after seeing a vision from the Lord of Light, and only resumed fighting after hearing words of encouragement from Beric.
Can't give up on him.
Then there's the fact that Bran directly gave Arya the dagger that she used to defeat the Night King. Everything played out exactly as Bran expected it to, and he used his many mystical powers to ensure that things did go according to his plan. He fulfilled the one biggest expectation people have for the Lord of Light, and that's the god using his unknowable powers to protect mankind from unspeakable harm.
He'll come for me.
It's overwhelmingly clear that Bran is both the Three-Eyed Raven and the Lord of Light. Him being the Lord of Light fulfills the dichotomy in the fictional religion by opposing the evil ice creature that is the Night King.
What does he want? An endless night?
It's also clear that Bran and the Lord of Light share many of the same powers, and that Bran uses his abilities to protect humanity. In fact, the Battle of Winterfell wouldn't have happened without Bran's direct meddling, and he acted just like people would expect as the divine protector of mankind. There are plenty of Game of Thrones theories that the show still has to answer, and many more that will probably go forever unanswered. However, it is now undeniable that Bran is the Lord of Light and directly responsible for humanity defeating the Night King and his Army of the Dead. Congratulations, fellow Game of Thrones theorists, we got this one exactly right. Now George R.R. Martin needs to confirm that Sir Pounce was the prince who was promised, and Game of Thrones will support more wild fan theories than any other show on television. Is there any evidence for or against Bran being the Lord of Light that we missed? Please let us know in the comments section down below. While you're there, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Behind the Screen. Doing both really helps the channel and lets us make even more great theory videos for you to enjoy. Speaking of new videos, we have plenty in the works, and you're going to want to click that bell icon to keep up with them all. Doing that will send you a notification every time we upload a new video. Then you'll be able to check out our latest theories and breakdown videos before anyone else has the chance to.